Right now, your biggest enemy isn't your competition. It's not your circumstances. It's not even your past failures. Your biggest enemy is the voice in your head that whispers, maybe you can't, right before you act. That voice has cost you more opportunities than every external obstacle combined. It's the reason you hesitate when others charge forward. It's why you second guess when others decide. It's why you prepare endlessly while others already won. Self-doubt isn't just a feeling, it's a disease, and it spreads through your entire life like poison, infecting every decision, weakening every move, sabotaging every chance at greatness. While you're stuck in your head debating whether you're good enough, someone half as qualified is taking what should have been yours. While you're researching and planning and waiting for the perfect moment, someone else is already 3 steps ahead. But here's what they don't tell you about self-doubt. It's not natural. It's not inevitable. It was installed in you, and what was installed can be deleted. Machiavelli understood something about power that modern psychology refuses to admit. Doubt is not a character flaw. It's a control mechanism. Those who rule plant seeds of uncertainty in those they want to control. They want you questioning yourself, so you never question them. They want you paralyzed by analysis so they can move while you think. This video isn't therapy, it's surgery. We're going to cut out the infected thinking that keeps you small, replace it with the mental framework of rulers, and rebuild you into someone who acts without permission and decides without doubt. By the end, that hesitating voice will be dead, and you'll wonder how you ever lived with it controlling your life. You weren't born doubting yourself. No child hesitates before running, before asking for what they want, before believing they deserve everything. Watch a 5-year-old approach a playground. They don't analyze the social dynamics. They don't question whether they belong. They run straight to what they want and assume everyone else will accommodate them. That's natural confidence. That's your original programming before the world corrupted it. Self-doubt is learned behavior, taught through punishment, through rejection, through 1,000 small moments where the world told you to shrink instead of expand. Every time a teacher called you out for being wrong, every time a parent told you to be realistic, every time someone laughed when you shared your dreams, each experience carved doubt deeper into your psyche. They trained you to ask, what if I'm wrong? Instead of, what if I'm right? They conditioned you to see failure as proof of inadequacy instead of data for improvement. They programmed you to seek consensus before moving instead of moving and creating consensus around your direction. They turned you into someone who needs permission to exist fully in your own life. That programming created what Machiavelli would call the servant mind, the part of you that asks for permission, that needs validation, that wants guarantees before acting. It's not you. It's malware running in your mental operating system, and it's been sabotaging your commands since installation. Every great decision you could have made, blocked. Every bold move you could have taken, prevented. Every moment you could have seized, lost to hesitation. But here's the truth about doubt that no one tells you. It's not protecting you, it's preventing you. Every time you hesitate, someone else acts. Every time you overthink, someone else decides. Every time you wait for certainty, someone else takes the opportunity with half your qualifications and twice your confidence. Doubt masquerades as wisdom, but it's just fear wearing intellectual clothing. The servant mind tells you to be careful. The ruler mind knows that caution without action is just fear wearing a costume. So we kill the servant, not through positive thinking, but through systematic replacement. You don't overcome self-doubt. You reprogram yourself to operate without it. Your first weapon against doubt is historical perspective. Every empire was built by someone who acted despite uncertainty. Alexander conquered the known world at 20 with no guarantee of success. Caesar crossed the Rubicon without knowing if his legions would follow. Every fortune was made by someone who moved before they felt ready. Every legend was born from someone who decided they were right and let results prove it later. Machiavelli himself wrote The Prince while in exile, doubted by his contemporaries, uncertain of his future. Political enemies surrounded him. His career lay in ruins. His reputation was destroyed, but he wrote it anyway, not because he felt confident, but because he acted confident, and that action created the confidence. That's the secret. Confidence isn't a feeling, it's a practice. Look at any successful person's origin story. They all doubted themselves. They all felt unqualified. They all faced moments of crushing uncertainty, but they moved anyway. They acted their way into confidence instead of waiting to feel confident before acting. That's the difference between those who achieve and those who dream about achieving. Doubt attacks through questions. What if you fail? What if you're not qualified? What if they reject you? But Machiavellian thinking flips every doubt into fuel. What if you fail? Then you learn what doesn't work and adjust your approach. What if you're not qualified? Then you become qualified through action and experience. What if they reject you? Then you find people with better judgment who recognize your value. You see the pattern? Doubt assumes the worst and stops there. Power assumes the worst and plans anyway. Doubt asks, what if? Power asks, so what? Doubt creates paralysis. Power adapts. From now on, when doubt whispers a question, you answer it with action, not analysis. Here's your new operating system. Replace I can't with I will learn how. Replace what if I fail with what will I learn. Replace I'm not ready with I'll get ready by doing. Replace they might reject me with their loss if they do. Replace I don't know enough with I know enough to start. This isn't positive thinking. This is strategic thinking. You're not pretending problems don't exist. You're refusing to let problems prevent action. Because in Machiavelli's world, the prince who hesitates loses his kingdom to the prince who acts with incomplete information. The perfect plan executed never beats the good plan executed immediately. Doubt lives in the future. It projects disasters that haven't happened and probably never will. It creates elaborate scenarios of failure, rejection, and humiliation. But power lives in the present. It deals with what is, not what might be. So when doubt tries to drag your mind into imaginary futures, anchor yourself in immediate action. The moment you feel doubt creeping in, move your body, stand up, walk, act physically, because doubt is a mental virus that spreads through stillness. Motion breaks the spell. Action dissolves analysis paralysis. Movement transforms mental energy into kinetic energy. You can't think your way out of doubt, but you can act your way through it. Machiavelli knew that rulers don't think their way into power. They act their way into confidence. Every step forward proves you can take another. Every small victory builds evidence against doubt's case. Every action becomes testimony that you are someone who does, not someone who wonders. Confidence is the byproduct of accumulated evidence that you can handle whatever comes. Most people live in their heads debating with doubt, trying to logic their way to confidence. That's backwards. Confidence comes from evidence, and evidence comes from action. You don't think yourself brave. You act brave until being brave becomes natural. You don't analyze yourself into certainty. You act despite uncertainty until uncertainty becomes irrelevant. Your second weapon is strategic ignorance. Stop consuming information about why you might fail. Stop researching every possible obstacle. Stop asking everyone's opinion about your plans. Stop reading about all the ways things could go wrong. Information overload feeds doubt. It gives your mind more material to worry about, more variables to consider, more reasons to hesitate. Machiavellian leaders knew the danger of too much counsel. Advisors multiply doubts because they protect themselves by pointing out risks. They get rewarded for identifying problems, not for solving them. But someone has to make decisions despite the risks. That someone is you, not because you know everything, but because you know enough, and you're willing to learn the rest through experience. Here's the brutal truth. You will never have enough information. You will never be fully prepared. You will never eliminate all risks. The market will never be perfect. The timing will never be ideal. The conditions will never be optimal. Doubt knows this and uses it to keep you researching instead of moving. But power accepts uncertainty as the price of progress and moves anyway. From this moment forward, you gather enough information to act intelligently, then you act. You don't know everything, but you know enough. You're not fully prepared, but you're prepared enough. You can't eliminate all risks, but you can handle whatever comes. You're not waiting for permission. You're not waiting for perfection. You're not waiting at all. Your third weapon is social proof reversal. Most people doubt themselves because they compare their behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. They see others succeeding and assume those people never doubted, never struggled, never failed. They see polished presentations and assume natural confidence. They see final results and assume easy journeys. That's the illusion that feeds doubt. But Machiavelli studied power up close. He saw how it really works. Every successful person doubted themselves at some point. Every leader felt unqualified. Every winner faced moments of crushing uncertainty. Every confident person you admire was once where you are now, questioning themselves, wondering if they had what it takes. The difference isn't the absence of doubt. It's the decision to act despite it. They felt the same fear you feel. They heard the same internal voice telling them they weren't ready, but they moved anyway. They built confidence through competence, not through feeling. So stop looking for people who never doubted. Start looking for people who doubted and moved anyway. Stop seeking examples of natural confidence. Start studying examples of manufactured confidence. Confidence built through action, not born through feeling. Every person you admire was once a beginner. Every expert was once a disaster. Every master was once completely clueless. You don't need to feel confident to act confident. You don't need to eliminate doubt to ignore doubt. You don't need certainty to move with decisiveness. You just need to understand that doubt is noise, not data. It's commentary, not command. It's the mental equivalent of background music, present but irrelevant to your actions. Your fourth weapon is outcome dependence. Doubt thrives on attachment to results. It whispers, what if this doesn't work? But what if it doesn't? What if you fail? What if you get rejected? What if you lose? So what? You try again. You adjust. You adapt. You evolve. You become smarter, stronger, more resilient. Machiavellian power doesn't fear failure because it doesn't depend on any single outcome. It understands that power comes from the ability to keep playing, not from winning every game. A true prince knows that individual battles matter less than the war. Individual outcomes matter less than the capacity to generate new outcomes. Doubt assumes one failure means total defeat. Power knows one failure means valuable education. Doubt sees rejection as proof of unworthiness. Power sees rejection as market research. Doubt interprets setbacks as stop signs. Power interprets setbacks as redirection signs. When you become independent of outcomes, doubt loses its leverage. It can't threaten you with failure because failure doesn't define you. It can't paralyze you with what if because you're prepared for any what if. You act not because you're guaranteed success, but because you're prepared for any result. This is the final transformation. You stop being someone who needs everything to work out. You become someone who can handle anything that happens. You stop being attached to specific outcomes. You become committed to continuous action. You stop fearing failure. You start expecting lessons. Your fifth and final weapon is identity shift. As long as you see yourself as someone who doubts, you'll always return to doubt. But when you see yourself as someone who acts despite uncertainty, doubt becomes irrelevant. It's not about eliminating doubt. It's about acting in spite of it so consistently that doubt stops trying. Machiavelli understood that identity shapes action more than willpower. You don't change by trying harder. You change by becoming someone different. A person who sees themselves as naturally confident acts confidently. A person who sees themselves as naturally doubtful acts doubtfully. But a person who sees themselves as someone who acts despite doubt becomes unstoppable. So you stop identifying as someone who needs to feel confident. You become someone who acts confident. You stop seeing yourself as someone who avoids risk. You become someone who manages risk while moving forward. You stop thinking of yourself as someone who waits for permission. You become someone who grants their own permission. Your new identity is simple. You are someone who acts, not someone who thinks about acting, not someone who plans to act, someone who acts. When opportunities arise, you move. When decisions need making, you decide. When doubt whispers, you ignore it and step forward anyway. This identity isn't built through affirmations or visualization. It's built through repeated action despite doubt. Every time you act while doubting, you prove to yourself that doubt isn't real. It's just noise, and noise can't stop someone committed to signal. Every action while doubting builds evidence that you can function with doubt present. Soon, doubt becomes as irrelevant as background music. The voice that used to paralyze you with what if now motivates you with so what. The mind that used to spiral into analysis now cuts to decision. The person who used to wait for confidence now creates confidence through competence. You've become someone doubt cannot control. Here's what happens when you consistently act despite doubt. Doubt gets bored. It stops trying. Why? Because you've proven it has no power over your actions. It can scream, whisper, project disasters, create elaborate fear scenarios, but you move anyway. Eventually, it realizes it's wasting energy and goes quiet. You've been rewired, not motivated, not inspired, fundamentally altered at the identity level. Doubt no longer has jurisdiction over your actions. It can whisper, it can scream, it can project disasters and catastrophes, but it cannot stop you, because you've become someone who moves despite mental weather, not someone who waits for mental sunshine. That's the Machiavellian advantage. Not the absence of doubt, but the irrelevance of doubt. Not perfect confidence, but persistent action. Not fearless thinking, but relentless doing. You don't need doubt to disappear. You need it to become powerless. And powerless it is. You are no longer someone who hesitates. You are someone who acts. Not recklessly, but decisively. Not blindly, but boldly. You've killed self-doubt not by eliminating it, but by making it irrelevant through action. The world belongs to those who move while others think. You now move. Doubt is dead. Long live action. Like this video if you're done waiting for permission. Subscribe if you're ready to act without doubt and move without hesitation. Because this isn't self-help. This is self-transformation. And you just became unstoppable.